riding down the high weirdness road, chasing every story nobody told. Muppets in the backseat, vampires in tow. J.J. Vance on the high weirdness road. Cold case counties and abandoned towns. Something in the shadows keeps swirling round. CIA bots shouting, "Who killed Bill Cosby?" JJ just laughs and cranks the sound. Where the timeline's bend and the truth gets loud, and the moon looks wrong behind a wandering cloud. If the vampires strike, well, that's just how it goes. He's riding down the high weirdness road, where impossible things are the stories he's old. From hidden hollers on a foggy night to the America's wasteland, heartland. J.J. Vance on the high weirdness road. He's rolling down the high weirdness road, chasing every phantom the archives hold. Truth gets strange, but he won't let go. J.J. Vance on the high weirdness road. Yeah, J.J. Vance on the high weirdness road. Hit the blacktop, midnight sky. J.J. Vance got questions he can't deny. Used to have an RV full of case file stack, map full of mysteries, thumbtack. Hear the hum of the tires, feel the pull of the strings. Where the lights in the woods get real deranged. Open your brain holes, where the truth explodes, and hunker on down for a trip on the DCD high weirdness road. He's riding down the high weirdness road, chasing every story nobody told. Muppets in the backseat, vampires in tow. J.J. Vance on the high weirdness road. Cold case counties and abandoned towns. Something in the shadows keeps swirling round. CIA bots shouting, "Who killed Bill Cosby?" JJ just laughs and cranks the sound. Where the timeline's bend and the truth gets loud, and the moon looks wrong behind a wandering cloud. If the vampires strike, well, that's just how it goes. He's riding down the high weirdness road, where impossible things are the stories he's old. From hidden hollers on a foggy night to the America's wasteland, heartland. J.J. Vance on the high weirdness road. He's rolling down the high weirdness road, chasing every phantom the archives hold. Truth gets strange,
really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Howdy, folks. Rose Double J back here, coming at you live from my studio / home on the range. I'm a bison rancher now. Right directly from deep inside Big Sky country, aka the state of Montana. Anyhow, Harry, I'm not sure what that is. Sandpack eyes. I'm pretty sure that's a vampire term, Harry. We're not all vampires here, Harry, like yourself. Anyhow, once again, welcome back, folks, to the interwebs. Your host of Operation GCD here, JJ Vance, also known as not the vice president. I repeat, not the vice president, and also, part-time vampire hunter. Get out of my chat, Harry. Anyhow, we'll be your pilot and navigator for tonight's shenanigan-infused journey to the mind of this particular garbage can, dude. And I'm not going to lie to you, folks, the interwebs got a real barn burner here on deck for y'all tonight. Creepy cults of Or is Gone, apparently, Oregon. And joining me here tonight for that conversation is a resident of Oregon who brought to my attention one such creepy cult I continue to be fascinated with out there in Southern Oregon in the town of Ashland. A cult by the name of the Twin Rays cult, which we'll be discussing that and many others here tonight. Welcome back to Operation GCD, Cosmic Peach, Julia, for your very first time.
My very first time. I can't believe it's really happening. I can't wait. It's going to be good.
Please, we already got a request for you coming up for this Wednesday's cult and/or esoteric film review, which is now The Mummy, because it is Tom Cruise March Madness, as you coined it. And you actually introduced me to the film The Mummy. I had not seen that, and I watched it. And
so glad, because you can't do a Tom Cruise March Madness and not talk about that weird shit.
I was totally unfamiliar with the film until you brought it to my brain hole, so I definitely appreciate that, man.
Did you enjoy it?
It's fantastic. Yeah, I'm going to watch it again before the review on Wednesday.
Good.
Hopefully you can join us for that. So what's new with the Cosmic Peach podcast? What have you been covering here recently? Any particular topics of interest or any specific projects you'd like to plug here before we start our conversation this evening, ma'am?
Yeah. So since I have a little tiny baby, it's easier for me to do shows just by myself, because that way I can take breaks and,
Sure.
do mom life in between recording and everything. So I've been doing a lot of solo shows, and basically I'll just research a topic or, find something cool to talk about and present it to my audience. Right now I've been on this weird SRA survivor testimony thing. I like to decode their testimony. Like, I don't know about you, JJ, and this is just my opinion, obviously, but sometimes I feel like certain people, SRA survivors or whistleblowers, or even like famous people who come forward and they're like, oh yeah, the Hollywood elite do this and that. It's like, do they float these people out there to let us know what's going on behind the scenes? So they can't say that they never told us, but they're not actually like genuine SRA survivors or like genuine whistleblowers. Like, these are these are characters.
Now you're talking my language. This is exactly what I talk about on my Thursdays, the anatomy of the Satanic Panic. We have who we talking? For example, like Kathy O'Brien. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, people like Kathy O'Brien. I recently just got sent, like, one of my listeners sent me a woman to listen to, and her name was like Jessica something Sezabor or something like that. Her last name was weird, but I listened to the testimony, and it's like, if this is real, she'd be dead saying this stuff. So how?
Right. So that's a great point you're bringing up. I like where your brain hole's at, because that's where I'm at on it. Like folks like Kathy O'Brien, even folks like Virginia Giuffre, they're still being victimized. They're fake whistleblowers, like you said, if you'd like to look at it that way.
That's where I'm at. So
they're being controlled. It's a controlled opposition. They're still being victimized. I have no doubt they've been victimized sexually. I'm not questioning that whatsoever. They all appear to be. Kathy O'Brien, Virginia Giuffre, Bryce Taylor, aka Sue Ford. I found her. She's still Ford. She ain't talk. She don't do tours and podcasts like Kathy O'Brien does with her handler, right? And Kathy O'Brien and her handler are like Gen 2. Gen 1 was like a fellow by the name of Long John Neville. He was a conspiracy theory radio host, syndicated style. And his wife, Candy Jones, was a presidential model, mind control model, right? So they were before Kathy O'Brien. So there's kind of a lineage of these pseudo whistleblower victim folks.
That's the perfect way to describe it. Pseudo whistleblower. So that's kind of like a kick I've been on lately, is just like people want so badly to think like, oh, these people are on our team and, you know, they're coming forward and they're giving us all this truth stuff and it's amazing. And it's like, just hold up, wait a minute.
Let me down a couple notches.
Cosmic peach in it. You know what I'm saying? Like you need to question everything, even the ones that you really, really want to believe.
Well, you know who popularized those women, right? Like Kathy O'Brien, Bryce Taylor, and a number of other these kind of victim whistleblowers. A fellow by the name of Laser Ted Gunderson. Perhaps you've heard of him.
There's thousands of Americans out there. By the way, I've been shot with a laser beam twice.
Save it.
Twice, right.
They got him twice.
So, I mean, it's like, I don't know, that in particular is something that I've been looking into recently. And then I texted you earlier because I was re-looking into the McMartin case and this.
There was no tunnels in the McMartin case, ma'am. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. It's all panic. There's no Satanists. It's all panic. There was no tunnels. I'm being facetious.
Oh, okay. I was going to say
that is the Satanic panic, though. That case is always mentioned, and it's always mentioned in reference, by propagandists of a Nazi Satanist propagandist varieties, saying that, oh, you believe in, I was joking, you believe in McMartin, you must be a moron. That's how they act about it, right?
Right.
And once again, laser tag Ted Gunderson was a big part of that shit show cover up.
Well, it's just like the same douchepacker, idiot, fucking shit sticks show up in the same cases. It's like McMartin and then Menendez brothers and then OJ and then it's like, what the fuck?
Well, if you look at the early onset of the LA, we were talking about the LA prosecutor's office and how it's been compromised by individuals who appear mobbed up or culted up or both. Folks like Vincent Bugliosi, a lot of sex pests and creepy sex cult type activities around that man's personal life. Then after him, he runs for district attorney and loses to one fellow. That's the fellow that brings the McMartin charges up. He loses to Ira Reiner, Charles Manson's friend, in November of '83. In the first, I can't think of the other dude's name. He seems to be one of the few honest folks that have held that office. Because then after Ira Reiner, you get Gil Garcetti, who seems mobbed up, and he hires Marcia Clark, who's not only a ranking Scientologist, her husband at the time, the Clark in that equation. I think his name is Bruce Clark. He was a billionaire contract, like OT 7 or 8 level Muppet, at the top of their or bottom of their reverse funnel system, if you will.
I mean, it's just like, it's the same. It almost makes you wonder, like with the triangle we were talking about earlier when I texted you, is like McMartin trickled down to Menendez, trickled down to OJ. It's like a weird triangle of the same. It's like, is this shit like scripted or something? Like, how does it, how
it's all one big beef. It's all one big beef. So we look at it on the outside, propagandized, see these are disparate incidents, and it's all one big beef, and all these are over a period of time, especially in a place like LA County. So you get Bugliosi was a senior prosecutor. He wasn't the DA. The DA was, I can't think of his name, but the DA just before him in the 60s and the 50s was a guy by the name of Evel Younger, who was an OSS station agent in Burma, in China. So if you want to know how all that drug trade starts, I suspect it starts with Evel Younger, who's the district attorney for like 12 years or 12 years. And then he's the state's attorney general for the state of California throughout the late 60s and into the 70s and whatnot there. So it's Muppets like that I think that set up these enterprises that these later Muppets are simply, turning the wheels on, so to speak.
Well, right. But so he would have been, the guy you're talking about would have been the DA for like the Manson murders and all the Laurel Canyon madness and okay, well, fuck that guy, whoever he is.
Well, and think about all the mysterious deaths in LA during that time.
That's what I'm saying. Like if you look at the Laurel Canyon death list, it's
how about
like
Bobby Fuller? Bobby Fuller allegedly commits suicide and burns himself up in the backseat of his car in Hollywood in like 64, 65.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Fuller 5, I think was their big hit was I Fought the Law and the Law Won. He fought somebody, all right. But yeah, there were so many. I mean, just think of the directly in and around Laurel Canyon and Mulholland with the death of Marina Habe, who's often never described. Her father, I believe, was a Project Paperclip Nazi scientist.
Well, and then I mean, even with like Sharon Tate and all that crap,
more intelligence connections, right? Or unintelligence connections, as they like to put it.
Yeah, I mean, that's why. So basically, to sum everything up, it's just, even though these topics are older, whatever, I like to kind of revamp them and look for new connections because it's actually quite crazy. I mean, just like with the McMartin preschool case, Chuck Norris just died, and that motherfucker was named in the McMartin case.
Yeah. He's a real dick. Not to speak ill of the dead, but he was retired. He was former Air Force military police guy for like 4 years.
He was freaking named by the kids in the McMartin case that he used to come and give them sleepy drink and rape their fucking beeholes and chop their taints or whatever he did. And all
I can tell is all I know is my personal experience with the man wasn't pleasant. It wasn't pleasant. He wanted $80,000 to come speak for 1 hour with a retirement ceremony for the head of security forces, director of the military police for the Air Force was retiring, and I worked on staff. I was planning his retirement, party or whatever, and we were like, oh, let's get a veteran Chuck Norris of the Air Force military police to come speak at it. And he's like, yeah, I'll come do it for $80,000 for 1 hour. I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
$80,000
for 1 hour, dude. 1 hour for a military event, military banquet for the retirement of the director of the exact field that he served in. And the guy's like, no, I'll do it. 80 grand.
And it's probably a good thing he didn't show up, because if anybody like brought their kids or anything, all their beeholes would be stinging by the end of it. I mean, he's a sick, fucking twisted, shitty.
There was no children present, thankfully.
Well, thank God, because
hold that thought. Hold that thought one moment, please, ma'am. We have a special moment here at Operation GCD. Welcome to the show there, you fucking Muppet. Tell the rest of your Muppets at Langley to go fuck themselves, RR. He is telling me that Springmeier's not a Nazi. Springmeier's literally a convicted fucking Nazi, bombing, bank robbing kind of shit.
I'm not going to lie. I loved him before you told me that. You wrecked my life with that.
I think he still lives out there in Oregon. You can contact him for an interview, perhaps.
I'm not fucking contacting that fucking asshole.
RR's got it. I'm sure RR's got his number. Just ask RR channel.
Yeah, I'll ask RR after we get off here. It just, sometimes when you are involved with Operation GCD, it's like a really good day because you learn a lot of stuff. And then sometimes it's a really fucking bad day because you realize everything you ever loved or cared about or thought was important is actually just all shitty and lies. And this is our life.
I hear you, ma'am. I understand what you're saying completely. We live in a world of Muppets.
Absolutely.
Our channel is one of them. So there's some other folks. We were talking about the Temple of Anubis there, so we'll be definitely discussing some of that cult business. But Oregon in and of itself is an extensive cult hotbed of activity. But was there anything else you want before I kind of interject and took us on a weird tangent in the LA District Attorney's office there?
It's
Like it may have
it's an
interrupted you.
easy tangent to get off on, but no, yeah, whenever you're ready, I got a lot of stuff I want to talk about with you.
Nice. Well, I do appreciate you joining me here tonight, man, to get a little GCD, and I appreciate you folks at the interwebs joining us, except for our channel. Go fuck yourself. He never learns. He always just repeats the same stuff. I'm like, dude, open up your ear holes. Your brain hole might find a new tune or two there. Like, look, right now, he's trying to tell me that Springmeier is not a Nazi, despite he's convicted. He served time for the case. It was a RICO case connected to the Aryan Nations compound in Idaho. These aren't things that I'm just pulling out of the thin air, but this Muppet at Langley thinks that, I don't know, he thinks he's smart,
listen, JJ, I've heard someone else say this to me, and it's something that I agree with. Some people can be so open-minded that their fucking brain falls out. So you're never gonna
We don't need that. We don't need any of that rolling around here. We don't need that mess. No, I mean, if you want to think about Chuck, he got his start in Hollywood courtesy of Bruce Lee. So we're back to the Manson family again. Many folks don't realize that Bruce Lee was so interconnected with the elements of all the folks that are in the quote unquote Tate Polanski circle there.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, he initially became friends with Sharon Tate when she was engaged to Jay Sebring. Yeah, so this would have been like 67. Yeah, when he was doing that Green Hornet show. He was training Sharon Tate for a role and doing some martial arts for, I think, that Valley of the Dolls film.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So he's routinely hanging out with them, and then she meets Roman Polanski, courtesy of Bob Cocaine Evans, which he comes into the conversation, right, relative to those Rajneeshis. How do you pronounce that again? How do you say that?
It's Raj Queefies.
Raj Queefies. There we go. That sounds much better. So that Ma Peru Peripi or something like that, whatever her name was. She was the ex-wife of Al Ruddy, the CIA guy who was the co-executive producer of the Godfather films with none other than Bob Cocaine Evans.
That's so wild.
Right?
That's so.
She was the former owner of the Chateau Marmont Hotel there in.
No, what?
She's the one who let it go into defunct nature there in the 70s and bankrupt because she got all hypnotified.
I talk about that place all the time.
Yeah, it's legendary, right? All the shit that's gone down there.
Tuesday Weld, Marilyn Monroe, all that shit.
Belushi's overdose there.
Mm-hmm.
That whole weird event.
Yes. Yeah, no, I've talked about that place a lot. That's wild. That's wild.
These are hot takes because again, these are, I think in many respects, Fritz Springmeier was born into it because who was his daddy? What did he do? Well, his daddy was a CIA guy. What did Fritz do? Fritz got his name anyway. It's Victor E. Shoof Jr. He got an appointment to West Point, courtesy of none other than Kansas Senator Bob Dole, which is where he was living at the time, was the state of Kansas.
I cannot believe. I mean, this is what I'm talking about with the SRA survivors and stuff. It's like when somebody comes forward with all this shit, you want so badly to think like, oh, look, this person who's on our side and like dropping all these truth bombs and showing us all like the 13 bloodlines, and you want to get so excited about it, but you have to, just stop, take a breath, bring it back down to earth. They don't like just put this stuff out there for no reason. Okay? For sure. And the people who are doing it, especially like Fritz, obviously, and like, you mentioned Kathy O'Brien, you want so badly to believe them because they got really good information. But the thing is, it's like 90% of truth and 10% a lie, or like, 60% truth and 40% a lie.
Right. There's some variation of disinformation and detours that are going to be baked into their process there. And spot on there. Now, I want to believe Bryce Taylor's stories more than I want to believe anything Kathy O'Brien says, because there's at least some corroborating evidence with Bryce Taylor, aka Sue Ford. So so there's a fellow by the name of Walter Boart who wrote a book published in 1978 called Operation Mind Control. He argued that none of these MK Often, MK Naomi, MKUltra, all of these mind control variations of mind artichoke, all, bluebird, all these variations of what we presume are all experiments were all evolutions that long before the 70s had become operational. They were no longer, by the time anyone knew these names in the 70s, circa 75 and 76, during the Church and Rockefeller Commission hearings, it was already operational. When they burnt those documents,
right.
He argues it was already operational. And he uses an exhibit with his cousin in Viet fucking Nam. His cousin got drafted and came back with cardboard memories, as he calls them. And these basically they took like family photos to reinstitute memories into the man's mind, because he was used as a messenger of sorts to download messages in a subconscious manner under hypnosis, in which to transmit and travel with those messages to another location in the war zone. So that would be one example of the operational nature of that. But nonetheless, he claims he was also a newspaper man, and he was the editor of a newspaper in Desert Springs, California. And he claims that he saw Bryce Taylor with Bob Hope. She claimed to be Bob Hope's sex slave. He says that they had a pro amateur golf tournament there in like 1989, and he saw her. This is like 8 or 9 years before she comes out as a sex slave, right? He sees her at this golf tournament with Bob Hope, and when he meets her later, and he's like, "Oh shit, I do remember you. You were with Bob Hope." So Boart seems to have some credibility in that regard, but based upon everything he wrote about in his previous book, is done nothing but check out. It still is a great book today, even though it was written in 1978.
Well, yeah, I think the part that makes it so believable is that there is a lot of truth to some of these claims, or the majority even of the claims. And then there are just like, there was one SRA survivor that I found, and I talked about it with my audience, and she said a lot of stuff that I've heard other SRA survivors talk about. It made a lot of sense. She had a lot of like proof that this had happened to her. And then she went like fucking left with, and I was grown in an artificial womb, and I used to take trips to other planets with the Palladians, and they was impregnating me with the Nephilim.
Were the blue avians involved in this one?
But see, that's what I'm talking about, JJ. It's like 60% the truth, and then 40% like taking trips to Disney in her mind and like doing all this stuff. And it's like, okay, see, now you've lost me, because and I'm not saying it couldn't in some, other universes, stuff could really be real, and she was grown in an artificial womb and fucking got pregnant.
And Ted actually got shot by lasers.
Oh, all of it. You know what I mean? It's just like some
all of it
these
could exist
people,
in some dimension, right?
Right, I'm sure. But like, at what point do we say, all right, this person's been floated out here to kind of discredit actual SRA survivors? Like, make it look so goofy that when somebody actually steps forward with some real shit, we're like, oh, fuck off. We heard about the artificial wombs and like the Pleiadians.
I think a certain amount of discernment needs to be applied in anyone's messages, regardless of who it is. Including myself. I'm including myself and you in that, man. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying also is, you can look at somebody like John Todd of the Satanic Panic, right? The entire time he's running around telling folks that Satan's in your ear hole, the devil's in your music, which to a large degree, he's right. Those are all occultists writing those songs, right? And there's probably is a lot of occultism, not just in Led Zeppelin, but even in country music, right? I think that's accurate. So from rap, country, rock, all of it. That is what's promoted, that is what's produced, because the folks doing it are all occultists. So as a result of doing that, they're making occult music and doing it on purpose for their own end game, whatever that may be. But that was John Todd's basic tale. But the entire time he's going around doing that, and he's doing it for the Jack Chick magazine, the evangelical Christian movement, right? He's a major figure. He's touring the nation. He's a white nationalist connected to the Aryan Nations compound. His best friend is Randy Weaver of the Ruby Ridge situation, along with Fred Springmeier, right?
That's what I'm talking about.
And he's diddling kids. And John Todd's diddling kids the entire time. He gets convicted of three different diddlings in South Carolina, where he died in prison.
But this is the exact point that I'm trying to make. Is like, I mean, you put it more eloquently than I could, but there is no like safe thing to just like, oh, I trust this is all the truth and this is all. No, you cannot.
No, you can't. Not unless it's Alex Jones / Bill Hicks. Everything he says is 100% accurate. How many times is that dude going to go out of business? Or how many times? How does that? What I'm getting at here is you can look at these disinformation agents and see they never lose credibility, right? And
No,
that's a great example.
You're talking about InfoWars, right?
InfoWars, yeah, InfoWars.
Yeah, because here's the thing. He's always like, oh, we're growing up. You got to go buy some supplements right now.
Yeah,
or we're going to be
some
out
colloidal
of business.
silver,
Like,
some orange drink, you know?
They've said that for 16 fucking years. If you don't go buy the supplements right now, they're going to go out of business. They're going to take us down. Listen, I thought it was so hilarious because he's always trying to sell this fucking goose feather fucking allergy supplement. And if you take this is the best goose feather fucking allergy. And if you take it, you'll never have allergies again. And he's always trying to sell it. And then he did an interview with someone and he sounded horrible. And he was like, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I got horrible allergies. These Austin, Texas allergies are just kicking my ass. It's like, where's your fucking goose feather? I mean, what the amount of hypocrisy with that guy.
He looks awful. If he takes any of his products, he's not a good example, right? He looks awful.
Yeah, he looks awful. And, you know, of course, it's because he's probably way older than he actually is, you know,
for sure. Yeah.
He's not who he says he is. Colby.
Yeah, if he's Bill Hicks, I think he'd be 64. I think if he's Alex Jones, he's 51 or something like that.
Right. So what would it be? Bill Hicks would be what? 10
I think
years
13
older?
years a senior, something like that. 12, 13
yeah.
years.
And he looks like it.
He looks 12 or 13 years older than he claims, right?
Yeah, fucking A. But
he looks awful. Well, he got all drunk there. I love so if some folks watch reality TV shows. I watch and tune into Alex Jones clips. That's my favorite thing.
You know, when I first started my conspiracy theory journey, and I'm talking like in the very beginning. So don't nobody come for me in the comment section. I used to really enjoy InfoWars. I was like, wow, this guy's always right about stuff. Like he'll say it and then like a couple weeks later it'll happen or it'll be, and I was like really obsessed with it. It wasn't until years later where I started putting the pieces together that it wasn't all that it was cracked up to be. I even bought some fucking supplements. Okay.
He's a good salesman. He's a good caramel barker. No, I don't blame him, man. He's definitely, he serves a good role for all those folks who start to begin to question mainstream narratives. And that's why they used to have him on The View to kind of, you know, squeeze him into folks' living rooms, if you will. Right.
Yeah. He also, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but I think certain people that are put out there for entertainment purposes, if you will, it's almost like they went to whatever school all the pastors and preachers go to learn how to fucking speak to an audience. They get you impassioned, they get you riled up, they
I just assume they're all Scientologists. What you're describing is also Scientology tactics.
Yeah, I mean it's the same shit. It's like have you ever went to a church and the pastor's like super boring and just reads passages and like you're like looking at your watch waiting to get the fuck out of there, and then you go to another church and the guy's like really impassioned and like, you know, jumping all around on the stage and getting y'all fired up and shit. Like that's Alex Jones. That's what he does for people. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm pretty sure he's a Scientologist. He used to call his old website prisonplanet.com. And that's a term coined by L. Ron Hubbard.
And it's the same thing, too. It's like evoking an emotional state in people. So they're always.
And he loves supplements. And they love supplements, the Scientologists. Dude, if you look at, since it's Tom Cruise March Madness, if you look at the way Tom Cruise operates in real life in public, not when he's pretending to be a tall guy who knows how to fight in the big screen, but like, you know, like when he's jumping on the couch on Oprah, like he's, or, you know, with that infamous Matt Lauer interview, he's always giving eye contact. He's real locked in. They train that. Those are the beginning training principles of Scientology. You have to do that the moment you join Scientology. They call them TR, I think TRs, some training principles, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it gets people's cortisol levels raised because they're all like, oh my God, this is fucking the world we live in, and I need to go storm the Capitol now. Like, just like with Q, the 10 days of darkness and like freaking everybody out and shit. That
Well, trust the
country-
plan, of course, right? I mean, JFK
yeah,
Jr.
like
is
that
alive. He's going
shit
to save
never
us all.
happened. Okay, that shit didn't happen. It didn't happen. Okay, so it's just, it's a performance and it's a compelling one. But
Well, they're psychological operations from cults, and I would argue they're all ancient alien cargo cultists in some capacity, much like the ones we're going to talk about tonight. Because most folks know that the cult Heaven's Gate, but they don't realize that that cult originated out of Oregon, with some connections to some mound locations in the state of Washington that are interesting. So, Oregon's a hotbed, and then, when you start thinking of it, if it's a remote area of the West Coast that could be utilized for, social engineering kind of testing protocols and projects, if you will, like serial killers, the Phoenix program, Come Home, Satanic Murder Inc. That basically gets its birth out of the states of Washington, Oregon, and California, and in very specific geographical pockets in those areas too. Like, and in that same regard, many cults have originated in these same locations, and from Scientology itself onto many offshoots of Scientology. And in Southern Oregon, there's an offshoot of Scientology that surrounds that Twin Rays cult, right? And then you get even older cults of weird natures, the Holy Rollers, which is who Marshall Applewhite gets out of a Looney Tune bin in Texas with his nurse. They make a hightail beeline to the West Coast and the further town of less than 1,000 people in Oregon, and leave there with 20 folks who were descendants of the Holy Rollers cult that got banished to that town nearly 100 years prior. So I have so many questions of why Oregon's a cult hotbed, which I think you had mentioned as well. As you would ask, like, why, right? Like, that's a great question. I think part of it, at least more in our modern era, is perhaps some, again, social engineering, government machinations, if you will.
Well, I do have to just ask you, and I don't know, like, what side of the fence you sit on with all this stuff. Like, have you ever been to Oregon?
Not very
well, I wouldn't recommend it, but if you had to.
No, I've tried to go to Oregon numerous times. I've tried to make numerous trips to Oregon. Forces of the universe have intervened and prevented me from I tried to go to Astoria. I wanted to go on a Goonies trip.
The Goonies,
didn't happen.
I also that's on my bucket list. That's something I want to do. But I will tell you, because I've only ever kind of so I've lived in Ohio, I've lived in Kentucky, I've lived in Oklahoma. My sister lived in Georgia for a while, and I would spend like every summer with her. So I've like seen and been multiple places, lived there. When I came to visit Oregon, I was captivated. It's the most beautiful place I've ever lived. It was kind of breathtaking, actually. The mountains have like an energy, and
mystical.
Yeah, I would say so. And I'm not being a dick when I say that. They were literally like majestic. It was crazy. And somebody just said it rains too much. Not here. Not where I live. We can't.
Yeah, it's a state with very different climates in each corner of the state, right? Like, it's all very weird like that, right?
Yeah, I'm really close to California though, so maybe it's like Southern Oregon, so maybe that's why. But
that's more of that Mount Shasta Mediterranean climate, right? You get through there probably, right? And because it's in that area of Oregon, kind of a spiritual epicenter of activity, like Mount Shasta is.
I think so. Yeah. So when I was pregnant, I wanted to like do stuff, but not like have to put that much energy into it, because I was a fucking Shamu whale, huge pregnant, but I still wanted to experience life. So Colby took me on a little trip to Mount Shasta. It was like an hour away or something like that. Dude, the energy, the air is fucking different over there. Okay.
It's different there. No, I've been there. It's different there for sure.
It's different. It's just different. And so when we're talking about these cults and stuff that are around these areas, and we ask ourselves, like, why Oregon? Or like, why, Ted Bundy did a lot of ripping and running through the Pacific Northwest. And
Bill Colby's son, the Mormon?
Yeah, right, dude. You blew my mind with that shit. Absolutely, that's his son. But I mean, the energy is thick. It's different. There's a spiritual quality to it almost. I think that you can get maybe tapped into some shit over here that you couldn't get in Oklahoma, for example. It just, I do think that there are places I don't know so much in Oregon, but I've been to like some mounds and stuff in Ohio. And
Yeah.
you can
Oregon's got mounds.
Oregon's probably got a ton of mounds, but I'm just saying, like, there are like these little epicenters where there's like a lot of mounds or a lot of like spiritual shit going on, and you would want to start a cult there. You could probably really tap into some shit in those areas.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because I was thinking I think that is something that I've kind of seen a pattern of as well, is that there's these. I mean, look at Sedona, Arizona. If you've ever been through there,
Right.
you're like, what the fuck's up with all this turquoise? You know what I mean? Like, what's going on there, man? It's like, people come there because they claim it's a spiritual center of sorts and whatnot. And, I was just talking about the Mojave Desert last night in regards to a lot of these things, what attracts to all these things, these cult activities and whatnot to the Mojave Desert area. I mean, on the south, it's about 40 miles, 50 miles as the crow flies south of Mojave, you got, Scientology, gold base there. But you got the Babylon working was allegedly in the Mojave Desert with Parsons and Hubbard. But it seems like many modern day occultists find that to be just north of the Mojave Desert, the actual location of where their Babylon working was.
Is that New Mexico?
No, it's it's about 2 hours northeast of Los Angeles, about halfway between Los Angeles and Las Vegas.
California. Why was I thinking New Mexico? Well, I think elite ass motherfuckers know some shit we don't know, maybe. And I
think it goes deep too, right? Like it's like part of like the mystery school, if you will, like the like knowledge base that's been passed down. Like it's not like people that started doing this yesterday's. The Marshall Applewhites, the internet age cults, if you will, right?
Well, yeah, because it's if you had millions and billions of dollars and you had friends in high places and you were gonna have
low places.
More like it, but you were gonna build like a fucking ranch somewhere. Look at Zorro Ranch, look at Little St. James. It's like, why New Mexico, right here in this exact area of like, why are these certain areas significant? And it's because of the fucking energy in the place. I'm telling you.
Yeah, no, it certainly is. But there seems to be there's also seems to be a connectivity between these groups, or this underground body of knowledge, this occulted knowledge within these secret society groups, these ancient alien cargo cults, if you will. And I don't disagree with about this though necessarily to the certain extent. There are other JJ. Appreciate the comments, sir. This is Jacob J from Rise to Liberty, aka Other JJ. They did kind of an anti-sex cult, because let's look at some of their basis of their, before we call this out of the program in and finish the rest of this discussion over at patreon.com/OperationGCD. And let's look at some of that theology of the Heaven's Gate cult that got the bulk of the core membership of their cult came from a very small town in the remote town on the coast of Oregon. Because all the coast of Oregon, it ain't like California. There's not much population on the coastline of Oregon. It's all pretty much barren wastelands, right? I mean, there's like the towns are very tiny.
Yeah, I mean, I've only been to one. It's called Brookings, but the coast seems to be extra weird, kind of, just energy wise.
Right.
Just saying, but it is like not densely populated whatsoever.
No, I mean, the town of Waldport back in the 1970, I believe it was 1970, when Marshall Applewhite and his nurse there, Bonnie Nettles, decided to leave their little institution there in Texas and hightail to Waldport, Oregon, population of less than 1,000. And back in 1906 or 1907, when the Holy Rollers got thrown out of the city of Corvallis, Oregon, inland a bit there, they got banished to Waldport. And at the time, it was a town of like a couple fishermen, like 7 fishermen, and then the seal, not a Navy SEAL, but like the animal seal. So,
Okay, so when I was
am I
looking up,
correct in assuming that all coastal Oregonians look something like this?
you can only actually get into Corvallis, Oregon, if you can do the truffle shuffle.
Oh,
But
that makes sense. That should be a requirement, actually. That makes
that
sense.
is a requirement to get in there. But when I was looking them up, it's the Holy Rollers, the guy who started this shit, even on Wikipedia or wherever you look, it was like, well, we don't really know why he ended up in Oregon or how or for what reason.
Right.
He just ended up there, I guess. And it's like you said, why out of like the entire state he ended up in this little like population 2 goats and a seal.
And they
With
were
a
part of
bunch
the
of
cult too. I
sloth
think they converted to
motherfuckers.
Holy Rollers. So
Right. And it's like we'll get into this, but I was talking to Colby about it and I said, why did the Raj Queefies end up in Oregon? Well, oh, they might have found some land that was really cheap. You want to find some land that's really cheap? Go to fucking Oklahoma. All right. Everything's cheap there. Nobody fucking
right.
wants to live there. So why again are we ended up in Oregon?
Well, that's a good question. And when I was thinking about it as far as social engineering and federal projects, if you will, Troublemaker Jones brought this one to my brain hole about this project in the late 90s regarding apocalyptic cults. And so if you can extrapolate the kind of the known knowns of what they're doing here, infiltrating these cult movements, which we know what those Muppets of Quantico do. It's a COINTELPRO. They're the ones doing the cult movement. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, we infiltrated the Nazi movement. Y'all Muppets created the Nazi movement. Robert Mueller and gang helped do that, reignited in the 2000s. So, the stuff that they've done in the 80s, right? So, again, it's the same old Muppetry, but if you look at what they're doing here, I mean, you would want a place like Oregon to start building up some of these cults like that, or maybe even southern Georgia, because we see it includes the Black Hebrew Israelites, and we get that what a guy who I can only assume is compromised and has narked out so many people over the years, Dwight York, the founder of hip hop music, he started his ancient alien cargo cult sex trafficking operation financed by Wesley Snipes in southern Georgia on a mound with some Egyptian pyramids. So, I'm just saying there's some. In my opinion, there's Fed involvement in all of those, and that's why Dwight York sits in his own little supermax prison cell in Florence Supermax prison in Colorado because they don't want him telling everyone what happened, just like they didn't want Ted Kaczynski telling folks what happened. You know what I mean? Stuff like they got to keep them segregated, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, and I also think that people have a tendency to separate cult activity from government activity when the shit is the same fucking
There you
shit.
go.
You know what I mean? So am I froze?
No, you're good. Am I froze? Am I back?
Yeah, I didn't know if I froze or you froze, but I was just
People are
saying
frozen sometimes, I guess. We're good on this end.
good. The cult activity and the government activity, it's the same. I mean, it's just two weird birds in the same tree. Okay. Like, just because, so when I see a lot of this cult stuff, and if you read Program to Kill, it'll tell you how it's all linked together. I mean, the cult activity and serial killers, cult activity, and like it goes back to very, very, very simple. You read Program to Kill, you know what I'm talking about, right? It was like Scientology and then this and then this. It's like a little triangle, and at the very bottom of the triangle is like 2 or 3 little sects that broke off and started new cults and new religions and new, but it all was stemming from like 1 or 2 shithead Satanists that eat kids and rape beeholes.
Well, look at all the federal involvement in Scientology. I mean, in my opinion, that's a CIA MI6 operation from the onset.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
O&I in the mix as well. Maybe some FBI in the mix. They're all these Muppets are trying to get in the same situations, whether or not who starts it or not. They're always seemingly trying to take it over because I think Miscavige represents far more of a CIA situation than L. Ron was more of an O&I situation, Office of Naval Intelligence. So I'm just saying, I don't think it's it's never one of these groups, right? I think it's always often like, oh, the CIA did it. Well, we have a lot of other Muppets that swim in the same fucking, alphabet soup shit.
Right. Yeah, no kidding.
And I don't look at, again, Marshall Applewhite is from a family of Confederate officers, maybe have some Society of Cincinnati roots, it seems, right? He comes from wealth and prominence of his family in Texas. He allegedly loses his mind, right? And then he probably gets hypnotized in the loony bin. He's leaving with his nurse, who's probably his handler, right? Then they go start this cult, right? And this is the first internet age cult. And it was kind of an anti-sex cult because they wanted everyone to lop their dicks off and become eunuchs.
Yeah, they did. They wanted to self-castrate.
Yeah.
He
was the first one to do it, allegedly, right? He was like, "Hey, everybody, check this out."
He did. He lopped his berries off, left the twig, as far as I know. But
yikes, that's frightening.
He wanted to shave everyone's head and do all this stuff. But let me just, since we're on Heaven's Gate right now, let me just take a moment to say two things.
Sure.
First, one of the members of the Heaven's Gate cult was the brother of Uhura on the very first Star Trek series.
And they love Star Trek. They love the cult.
Loved Star Trek.
Yep.
So do you find that odd? It's like the actress in Star Trek, her brother gets involved with Heaven's Gate, and they, I guess, chopped his balls off and shaved his head and then murdered him. But
we'll never know. He flew on a Hale Bob Comet. He caught a ride on Hale Bob.
Yeah,
he had on the purple robe and the Nikes. What a missed opportunity for Nike. They could have used that as an advertisement for many years.
I said that when I covered Heaven's Gate on my show. I said it just gives a whole new meaning to just do it. You know what I mean? Just do it. Just kill yourself. But
what a great government project, the birth of the interwebs, and all of a sudden you have this cult, which is, again, I remember I was on the interwebs back then. I remember this dude's face being on computers and TVs. I'm like, what in the weird? It was like some shit out of a sci-fi novel,
creepy dude.
Movie, but it was happening in real life, though, right? Like he was popping off in real life.
Creepy, and the way that he looked into your soul, almost like with these creepy, kind of weird MKUltra like stare down.
Harry the Vampire would call them Sanpaku eyes, which I think is an actual thing. I just like to give Harry shit.
Yeah, I mean, he was.
It's the psychopath eyes where you see all the whites of the eyes and shit.
Yeah, and like the whole whites, like all the way.
So Scientology trains you how to do that. They that's one of their training protocols. They do. They force folks to like have folks scream in their face and stuff to try to get them to flinch until they no longer flinch.
My God, what a bizarre!
What a bunch of fucking psychos.
Yeah, exactly. But all right.
No, absolutely.
Let me float this across your pond. Okay.
Like a UFO, float it like a UFO.
I'm just going to float it across your pond and you can take it or leave it or whatever, but just hear me out. Okay.
That'd be fucking.
I know that the news teams went in and they filmed all these people with the purple shrouds and the matching Nikes but I didn't personally see a corpse. Okay. I didn't see a funeral. All right. I didn't see
what
a calling
hour.
What
could have been actors laying there in the robes and the Nikes. Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if a motherfucker died. Okay. I don't know.
Mention it, I want to see some reports on these deaths now that you mention it.
That's what I'm saying. Did you see a funeral? Did you see a calling?
Well, clearly
hour?
I didn't see a funeral, man. They got on Haley Bob Comet. They were somewhere in the galaxy, right?
Like there is no proof, discernible proof, in my opinion, that there was however many corpses laying up in that house. I'm sorry, but they could have had statues with matching Nike shoes.
Could have been dummies. They could have been dummies like during COVID in the ERs.
Dummies
with the sneakers on in the ICU. Remember those? The dummies with the sneakers on in the ICU or actors?
Because this is what they do. They like to do this stuff. And here's my thing. If it was your loved one that died in the Heaven's Gate cult, would you have wanted the news to go up in there and show the world their fucking bodies laid out with shrouds and shoes and all this stuff? Or would that
you made some interesting points I had not yet considered here, ma'am. And to your point you're bringing up, Uncle Ted in the chat has always got some solid commentary here. He brings up some possible, motivations, perhaps. Wonder what contracts that because the whole cult they were kind of like a finder's cult operation, like, because the finder's cult runs, I think, allegedly to date in some capacities, a software databasing company for the CIA. The finders on contract, right? They were on contract with the CIA, right? Mm-hmm. And the Heaven's Gate cult were early interwebs developers, and they had contracts with who knows. I don't know their whole catalog of customers, but they had a company, and they were designing websites at the time when no one else was really designing websites.
Well, so wasn't John Bonet's dad, but like the rabbit hole.
This is what I mean by one big dispute, though. Is we're laying out numerous things that parapolitical murders and whatnot for various wide swath of time and space here, geographically speaking. But if they're all connected to something like the Promise Offer, which we see still playing out today with Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, that's all Promise Offer related, muppetries. I mean, in addition to other things, obviously, I'm just saying they're deeply connected to the Promise stuff.
Well, think how easy it would have been to get like a bunch of. We already know that there was an actress's brother in Heaven's Gate. So how easy would it have been to have like some kind of casting call, shave all their heads so you'd never recognize them out on the street looking normal, and then post them all on, they all wore the same fucking sweaters and they all had shaved heads and they all, like, you would never recognize them if they grew their hair back out and wore a regular shirt, like, and you just seen them at Dairy Queen. Like, you wouldn't say, "Hey, weren't you in the Heaven's Gate video?" You're not gonna know.
I like your brain rules that, ma'am. And you just, if I may interject, that you said some actress. She's not some actress. She was a star in Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek. Gene Roddenberry's one of his close friends there. And if you've seen some of the creepy shit, he talks about little girls' underwear and shit on camera and shit. Gene Roddenberry talks about some creepy ass shit. Well, one of his closest friends was Bob Cocaine Evans. Who do you think produced Star Trek? Paramount Studios.
See, now you just proved my point. All right.
I think it was initially the I Love Lucy studios, but Charles Bluehorn bought them out in 66, I think. Maybe it was 67. It was during that production time frame.
Well,
but
see,
yes,
good. Jonah just made a point there in the comments. He said, about the Challenger astronauts. And this is, in my opinion, just like that, right? They take a bunch of people, you never recognize them again. They send them to fucking Florida. They make them professors and shit. Yep. Let them keep their names.
Yeah, Judy Resnick looks identical. The Yale professor, Judith Resnick, looks identical to the alleged dead astronaut lady, Judith Resnick.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying is, like, we could just say, sure, these people all drank the pink drink or whatever, and then they went and laid down with the shroud on their head and they died. But did you notice in the video, it's like all of their legs were at the same angle with their feet exactly positioned in the same angle. Like, nobody died with their leg up. Nobody died like with the shoe kind of kicked off. Like, they all died exactly the same. They all died in the same angle with their, arms down in the soldier's position or whatever they call it,
I got a clip depicting the scene you're describing and their theology.
Play it for me.
But at this point, this is considered a mass suicide investigation.
Tiendo gave us the tools to brainwash ourselves. Literally wash out our humanness from our brain.
The basic idea of Heaven's Gate was that you would chemically and biologically transform your body, becoming a next level alien. And then you would physically get on board the UFO, which would sail off into heaven.
It says Heaven's Gate away team.
They had away team uniforms.
Do you see the assholes they got for these videos? One of them looked like fucking Voldemort. Okay.
Well, again, I never really considered that this is a fake mass suicide situation. Because here's the other thing. That on that same Hill Bob comment, there was a cult out of French land that was they did a mass suicide a couple years prior. I'm trying to get their name at the moment. It's drawing a blank and brain all will come back to me. But they had a subsidiary sect of that cult who did a mass suicide on the same date in Quebec land, Canada, trying to catch the same comet.
This is a program, JJ.
Right. I think so. So that same cult, I can't think of it'll come back to me. Order of the Solar Temple, I think was their names. And their leaders were caught on videotape before their mass suicide in France land saying that the Waco.
I did cover this. I covered an episode on the Solar Temple. It was the same day, but it was in Switzerland.
Was it Switzerland? Right? Okay.
Yeah. So Heaven's Gate went down where, like, California, and then in Switzerland, this Solar Temple was. If you really look into it, I do think that those people died because some of them were stabbed to death, some of them were burnt alive, some of them were poisoned, some of them. The leaders of the Solar Temple went fucking nuts and started just killing all their members.
Yeah, this is the one I'm talking about. Yeah, no, you're spot on. And they allegedly die in the first one, but so yeah. March 22nd, 1997, 5 members of the Order of the Solar Temple commit mass suicide in Saint Casimir, Quebec. So they're trying to get on the same they're trying to go to the star Sirius via the Hale-Bopp comet. Right there.
Yeah, and it was literally the exact the Joseph DeMombro guy, the guy that started the Solar Temple, he said he was getting messages from his infant daughter that she was a starseed person and that she was like an intercessor to the extraterrestriae, and that they were going to get a ride on this they were going to ascend or whatever, because
who doesn't want to ride on a comet? It sounds fun, right?
Yeah. And all you got to do to get there is stab your friend.
It does seem very scripted when you start looking at all these disparate elements. So that Jean-Luc Picard fellow you were just saying with the Order of the Solar Temple, I think that's a Star Trek guy, but whatever this guy's name is here, he's on recording saying that they missed the boat. Video recorded by an informant in the French authorities saying him and the other cult leader talking. This is before their first mass suicide. They had an infiltrator from the unintelligence services of France land in their cult, because I think all of these cults are just a bunch of spooks just doing spook Muppet stuff with each other against the other spook Muppet stuff, where you have it's a tale as old as time. There's a fiction story back in the 1920s called, his name was Thursday, and it's a dude who works for Scotland Yard. He infiltrates the anarchist movement in London, and his code name, he makes it to the board of the anarchists that are running all the anarchy terror in London, and everyone on the board is named after a day of the week. He gets the name Thursday. Well, he comes to find out all the other 6 members on the board, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they all work for different agencies. He works for Scotland Yard, and they're all waging anarchy war on London, and it's all intelligence agencies running the board.
Well, Marshall Applewhite had some type of military connection.
Marshall Applewhite, again, yeah, he's got some interesting, again, who's his daddy? What does he do? He comes from a society genealogy, and his grandfather was a Confederate, I believe it was his grandfather, was a Confederate officer, his grandfather Applewhite, if I'm not mistaken.
So let's just say, and we already, somebody mentioned Jonestown in the comments.
Yeah, Grace Kelly. Sorry, ma'am, I apologize. I forgot. I was just in my brain a minute ago. I was like, who was the Hollywood actress? I didn't say it. I didn't say that because I totally forgot. But who's the Hollywood actress that they got murked by the Order of the Solar Temple? Was Grace Kelly. They murked her.
Well, the Solar Temple could be its whole own episode, because the connections with those yahoos, it's so ridiculous. I mean, so Colby and I did a series. I think it was like 4 parts, and we just talked about cults. We talked about Heaven's Gate. Obviously, we talked about the Solar Temple. We talked about David Koresh, and we talked about, if you really look, you can find, and you will find, that they're not as grassroots and as like organic as you would think that they should be.
No, they're all seem to be very manufactured. Once you start looking, I think you're saying what I think you're saying is like what I've concluded is once I start looking at all these ancient alien cargo cults, they all have the same framework. They all have the same pattern of behavior, the same mode of operations. They all do the same Muppet shit.
Well, there was another
I suspect it's not your birthday because it's Gerald.
not, but you can tell me anyways because I'll have one eventually. There was a cult in Africa. It was called the 10 Commandments, the restoration of the 10 Commandments of God, or something like that. Anybody out there can Google it. The restoration of the 10 Commandments of God cult. And this guy burnt everybody up in a church, burnt up hundreds of people in a church, and then went on and then he went on like a 3-day murder spree where he and they found bodies buried all over his property and shit. And then you find out later he had some connection to like the African government and like they knew about him and they were just kind of letting him do his thing.
Is this Uganda? Is this the dude?
Joseph Kibawateri, that is correct.
Oh, Uganda, yeah. I mean, he's probably the CIA's been using Uganda for many, many years. RR channel knows what I'm talking about. Go fuck yourself, RR.
Yeah, I mean, so this Joseph Kibawateri guy, if you look, it'll say how many he trapped in the church and just set it ablaze. A fucking blaze, guys.
That's so crazy.
Let's see, where is
it? Says on March 17th, he apparently died in the gruesome mass murder, so they think he might have died in it?
No, he didn't fucking die in it because he went on a murder spree a couple of days later. Do you remember that? You remember? Colby remembers that shit. I covered all of it. They found bodies. It was like Mark Dutroux of Uganda. They went and looked at this guy's property, and he had fucking bodies from years prior and new bodies buried all over his fucking property. Oh, there it is, right here, right here.
Huh? Holy
778.
Shit. That beats out Jonestown.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is there is a pattern to these cults. There is a blueprint. There is always connections. And
I'm sorry, 918. They come in a close second.
Wow, 918.
I know. I think you're spot on. But I think again, Jonestown's another great example of kind of those same kind of Muppet machinations.
I was gonna say, yeah, he even knew what's his name? Jim Jones was besties with Henry Lee Lucas.
That motherfucker tried to out JJ me. I'm good. Good thing he's dead. I won't have any of that. Jim Jones, get out of town.
But so there, in my opinion, is definitely a blueprint when it comes down Oregon or not. If you even like this Uganda cult and the Solar Temple, there was another one. I have it in my notes, but break in obviously while I look this up. But there was another cult that I covered, and it was just what the fuck.
You need to look for it. I got a clip for that. Go ahead and look for it.
So how are all of those little wave ripples, how are those so perfectly matching what's in the video?
Because all dispersal patterns look the same. This is like saying that my butthole is your butthole because they're similar, right? It's not, we don't have the same butthole because of that.
You're using butthole out of context. You're talking about buttholes making everyone feel weird.
And that's the point.
Talking about buttholes making people all feel all weird.
Yeah, I got mine clinched because this next one, Adolfo Constanzo. You ever look into this fucking asshole?
Oh, yeah. The Cuban-born Mexican Interpol agent extraordinaire wizard guy.
With what? Super fucking high-level connections.
He was reporting directly to the head of Interpol in Mexico, who then committed suicide on the side of the road when Costanzo gets busted.
Yeah, but they did never really identify that he died.
That's true. That's a good point. When the should say when the whole Mark Kilroy thing gets outed, they had Interpol allegedly murks his mother-in-law, his wife, and himself in his car on the side of a Mexican highway.
Right.
It's only later found out that he was the one inserting Adolfo Costanzo into various Mexican drug cartels. The Matamoros one was his fourth cartel he'd been inserted into.
But all of it is connected because even with that cult, you find out like Adolfo Costanzo's got supernatural powers and he's got this and that. And yeah, they say there's always a supernatural element, whether it's UFO, some type of Christianity, or he's a witch or a wizard, and then if you look beyond that, there's always some government involvement.
No,
they
100%.
use the cult to carry out the agenda.
Yeah, no, I totally concur. So Costanzo was getting into the cartels as being the wizard dude for the chief wizard dude. And all of these drug cartels do narco-Satanism shit. So even Manuel Noriega in Panama, the DEA report when they raided, was it 95, they raided Panama. They mentioned he had an altar set up in his main palace room. So like it's a standard practice, but that's what he was doing. And Costanzo really has a lot of the characteristics of Charles Manson. If you put the characteristics of Charles Manson and Adolfo Costanzo next to each other, you'd be like, that's the same fucking guy. It's the same Muppet shit.
And okay, how about this one? So you could call it a cult, or you could call it just like a bunch of people started following their mindset or whatever. But Andrea Puharich and Uri Geller, in my opinion, were another like, I got this guy, he can bend spoons and he talks to extraterrestrials. And you look further past the supernatural layer, they're involved in all type of government shit. And so this is my thing. I need to see some fucking corpses. I need to see some fucking bodies.
I need to see some evidence. Otherwise, we're just talking about getting shot by lasers twice.
Right. But do you think that there was a wave of, we got to show people mass suicides, and then they like stopped doing that all of a sudden, and then it turned into like the twin ray, and it's not so much about like blood sacrifice anymore. Now it's like a spiritual evolution thing, because now the cults, like modern cults, they're not really into the blood sacrifice shit anymore, but they've taken it to a scary level with like the spirituality stuff.
I think it's a great question, and I'll answer like this. It's more of a corporate approach. Do you know how like sometimes the McDonald's has the McRib and then sometimes they don't? Like, hey, the McRib is back. So like they have different programs. They institute different programs within a project to have a different evolution of stuff. I think that's the best way to look at it, and that's why we see Scientologists behind the twin rays. We see a lot of hood rat shit behind the twin rays and shit like that. And the same can be applied. We see Mormon shit connected to all that shit. We got Mormon, Scientologists, Heaven's Gate, ancient alien cargo cultists, holy rollers, the Anubis temple, the Oculist Anubis fucking temple, which that's a creepy spot that was mentioned earlier in the chat. But we'll be discussing all of this and many more there on the remainder of the program over here on patreon.com / wait a second. Yep. Patreon.com / OpGCD. And as always, this show, as many others of here at Operation GCD, is brought to you all by Jar of Mayonnaise. Remember to support your local science stores, even URR channel and Harry the Vampire. Harry's a vampire. That's a full-time job for Harry, but I'm only a part-time vampire hunter. He's lucky, though. I'm not far from the Canadian border. Those Canadian vampires aren't safe anymore. Anyhow, all right. Well, we will catch folks there on the remainder of this program. And as always, stay vigilant out there, folks.
There's thousands of Americans out there. By the way, I've been shot with a laser beam twice.
Ted's down. They got him twice. Good riddance, Ted, you son of a bitch.
Operation GCD with an Appalachian grin. Adventures and shenanigans, we're diving right in. Out in the holler where the secrets creep, garbage can dudes digging mighty deep. secret societies, shadows in the pines, Operation GCD of American rebels design. Double J searching deep in his brain hole, past layers of melted hops and bone resin. From cults to cover-ups, we're talking about all of that. So watch your sixth friend in the truth we trust. The world's a puzzle, grunge rock ain't what it seems. Ancient alien cargo cults haunt the moon's pale beams. Cincinnati schemers, history's a haze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze. GCD with an Appalachian grin, adventures and shenanigans, we're diving right in. Join us on the journey and enjoy the show. Thanks for joining us to get a little GCD. Every world's a puzzle, grunge rock ain't what it seems. Ancient alien cargo coats haunt the moon's pale beam. Cincinnati schemers, history's a haze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze. Hell, the world's a puzzle, grunge rock ain't what it seems. Ancient alien cargo cults haunt the moon's pale beams. Cincinnati schemers, history's a haze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze. Operation GCD with an Appalachian grin, adventures and shenanigans, we're diving right in. Out in the holler where the secrets creep, garbage can dudes digging mighty deep. Secret societies, shadows in the pines, Operation GCD of American rebels design. Double J searching deep in his brain hole, past layers of melted hops and bone resin. From cults to cover-ups, we're talking about all of that. So watch your sixth friend in the truth we trust. The world's a puzzle, grunge rock ain't what it seems. Ancient alien cargo cults haunt the moon's pale beams. Cincinnati schemers, history's a haze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze. Operation GCD with an Appalachian grin, adventures and shenanigans, we're diving right in. Join us on the journey and enjoy the show. Thanks for joining us to get a little GCD. Any world's a puzzle, grunge rock ain't what it seems. Ancient alien cargo coats haunt the moon's pale beam. Cincinnati schemers, history's a haze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze. Hell, the world's a puzzle, grunge rock ain't what it seems. Ancient alien cargo cults haunt the moon's pale beams. Cincinnati schemers, history's a haze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze.
Boom!